Okay, for my second journal reflection, I want to talk about the right to read. I loved this documentary. I don't know what it was. I honestly enjoyed it so much. I felt like I learned so much watching this documentary. I feel like we could relate it to what's happening in Canada with our Indigenous students and how the education system disadvantages them as it disadvantages Black people in America. I thought it was just like so mind blowing getting this like real example, like this real documentary to see how education system is failing students. And now being in the classroom, I can see it too. I'm like, oh my god, these kids stresses me out because I'm just like, these kids, they just not getting a proper education anymore. And that comes from so many factors, but just even like the fact that literature is the groundwork. If you do not have that, you're not going to succeed in education because you need it for every skill. So I just that's your core foundation, and if you don't have that, that system's gonna fail you. And there's, as much as like teachers can try to make that intervention, but after a certain amount of time, when you have 30 kids in the classroom, you can try your best, but you can't give your full help to intervene and try to help that student. I think also talking about like how literature, like how Keenan, I believe was his name, was talking about how literature is the most important thing when it comes to school, and about how in America, if you don't have those skills, it's a pipeline to prison. It's a pipeline to unemployment. It's a pipeline to poverty. And it's even here, like if it's Indigenous people, like it's a pipeline for jail, it's a pipeline for everything. And I made that connection right away in my head when I was watching this. I was like, I made that connection to Pedagogy of the Oppressed by Pierre Ferry, and how like his whole theory was behind oppressed people need to teach themselves. You can't wait for the oppressor to give you that time. You have to do it. You have to do it yourself. And I think what's happening down in the States right now with Donald Trump and the policies putting in, I think that's more important than ever, is for oppressed people to educate themselves, to know, to put themselves ahead, because you're already at a disadvantage by being oppressed, and so you need that upper hand, and you need to educate yourself, and you need to be aware. And I think that brings me to the point of like talking about reading, and like how the process of reading and how it's not working for students, and how students nowadays are guessing, and they're guessing letters. And I remember telling my mom about this documentary and telling her about like this thing, and I was like this makes so much sense, because I grew up reading those. My reading tests were like that. And I even remember getting older, and I still do this day, where I will guess words when I'm reading out loud. I'll just guess words, but I think what the word should be, and it makes a lot of times doesn't make any sense. But I remember growing up, like after like I got diagnosed in grade 4, and like after, I remember being younger, my mom being like, stop guessing, think about the word, like all stuff. And I just think that comes from that like style of learning, of that like whole language learning or unit of studying, how it's like not working. And and it has affected a full generation of kids. And like I'm one of those kids, because it even happened, like a lot of those ones that we teach happens all across North America, the States and Canada. And how they were talking about how it's so important for kids to learn phonics and like a phonic awareness, and like how to break down those words and understanding the sounds to those words. Like I think it is so time consuming, and I think that's one of the, and even they talk about it, it's like that's one of the big reasons why the unit of study and whole language was so popular, is because it was the easy way to do it. You just showed them the whole word and you expected them to learn. Where when you have to break down those words, it takes a lot of time. But these kids understand what they're comprehending. This documentary, like I personally really enjoyed it. I felt like I walked away with an entirely different concept of how a system can put people down, and how like I already knew that, but like it kind of opened my mind to like have a more awareness to like just how much education is affected and everything, and how it's affecting so many kids across North America and honestly probably across the world. But I think primarily the Canada and the United States, like it's really there, and how the education system is failing so many students, and particularly students of color. Thank you. I really like that documentary.